Hey, Meg.
Yeah.
So I'm sure learning more about meetings and events.
Right.
Seems like everybody else is learning more about the industry too.
Absolutely.
But how long are we going to have to suffer being the biggest industry that very few people know about?
Not that much longer.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Advocacy.
Advocacy. Tell me more.
Oh no, come with me.
Let's all go with Meg.
Thanks for joining us and welcome to The Intersection. Meg and I are speaking with three senior industry executives on a subject that's vitally important to meeting and event professionals. On my far right, please welcome Michael Massari, Senior Vice President, Caesars Entertainment.
Morning.
And on my near right, Cathy Tull, Senior Vice President, Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority.
Thank you, good morning.
And on my immediate left, Richard Harper, Executive Vice President, Helms Briscoe. Richard, welcome.
Morning, Bill.
So Cathy, let's just jump right in and talk about the genesis of Meetings Mean Business. How did it all get started?
The coalition really came together in 2008, early 2009. When the recession hit, the meetings industry really felt that hit.
Right.
And all of a sudden, meetings and gatherings of individuals became something that was negative and you shouldn't do. We started seeing cancellations across the country. And so the industry, led by Christine Duffy at the time and Roger Dow of US Travel, started to pull people together to have a conversation about how do we talk about the value of meetings. And what we've seen is that grow to what it is today, which is really a forward-looking, how do we make sure that we're ahead of the curve before something like that happens again.
Right.
Cathy, is it going to be, or Richard, is it going to be a fixed group, a coalition? What do we refer to this as?
So there is a coalition, and Richard has been on it since the beginning, the very beginning. And
Well, tell us about
go ahead and
it.
talk about that, Richard.
Sure. It's to answer your question, Bill, it's not a fixed group by any stretch. As a matter of fact, that would be a travesty if that was the case. The more we can get involved into the coalition, that's going to be a message you're going to hear throughout our conversations. I think today is just getting more people involved with it. But as any good grassroots effort, you start with a few people that are passionate about what's going on. And quite frankly, we were a little bit caught off guard back in 08 when all this happened. We didn't have spokespeople, we didn't have data, we didn't have research, we didn't have anything to go arm ourselves to have a conversation about what was happening. And it happened right in front of us. So good news, bad news, what happened with this recession was terrible for so many reasons, but probably the best thing that could have happened for our industry, I think, in terms of actually unifying us. And it's been a rallying cry ever since.
The question about the coalition and the size of it, so the whole notion that we're trying to get after is that we need to speak as with one voice as an industry, right? And so we can't be so fragmented. And so to do that, you really have to have everybody represented. I mean, everybody's voice needs to be represented and then distilled down into the message for the industry. But you can't do that if it's not an inclusive group of people.
You were speaking about some stats earlier about, is it 1/8 or 1 out of 8?
Yeah, one in eight United States residents are employed in the travel business or a related business to the travel business. So this is an important industry. I mean, we employ more people than automotive, we employ more people than almost any other industry. And so it's important that people understand the value of face-to-face meetings and how that differs from other types of activities that you could do from a marketing standpoint for your organization.
Absolutely.
Let me just ask one final question that would have been far more insightful if Mike hadn't preempted it. But if you
That's a common comment, actually.
if you look out, let's say 5 years, and we have this conversation and you already had suggested some things, that we get together 5 years from now, and we're having the same conversation. What will have happened? If you're successful in what you want to do, what will be different?
Well, we won't have the same conversation because we'll be in a much different place by then. And as long as the coalition continues to grow, we get more engagement, we measure our success. We're not doing this just to do it because it feels good. There are key deliverables, key metrics that we're tracking to make sure we can go back to the industry and the stakeholders at the end of the year and say, this is what was accomplished. I'll tell you what, there's been some conversations that have happened in Washington through the great work of this coalition that no one ever even knows about. One comment across an aisle could have devastated a community with someone's perception of irresponsible spending and whatnot. And I won't get into a political agenda. There's tremendous work that's going on behind the scenes that no one has even understands or sees yet. There's going to be a lot more of that. We're going into an election year. we've got to absolutely have our A game right now. Now's the time to do it. But I don't think we have this conversation 5 years from now.
Won't need it.
No.
Great. Cathy?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we learned and we'll learn, and 5 years from now, if we have the conversation, words matter, and what people say matters, and it does have effect. And I think in 5 years from now, the great thing is the words that you'll hear will be all about what we need to meet about and what we need to discuss instead of if we should meet at all.
And like for me, success at some point in the future, and I don't know whether it's 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but in my lifetime, that when there is a crisis, a financial crisis, that organizations and our federal government and our state governments, rather than say, I want to see the travel budget, I want to see the meetings budgets, we got to cut it by 50%, they get together and they say, I want to see the meetings budget, I want to see the travel budget, because we need to increase it by 50%, because this is the time when we have to gather together.
Right.
If our federal government does that in my lifetime, that's success.
Well said. Well said.
Very well said.
Richard Harper, Cathy Tull, Mike Massari, thank you so much. On behalf of Meg and I, thanks for stopping by the intersection.